Hello, Work Shoot Show Nation. We have another special guest. I told y'all we was coming with it. It's Mania week, so we got to give you the content. And look, for me, I think it's time that, media evolves with the times. And one of the most popular social medias is TikTok. And wrestling has an extreme TikTok community. And in my opinion, this guy is one of my favorite creators from WrestleTok. It's who we had earlier, Narcolepsy Boy 94, my guy Malik. And this guy, I've actually been talking to this guy for a while, long before I asked him to be on the pod, because I just liked his content and I would go on his lives because I think he had great takes. We got Johnny Wrasslin, aka my guy Johnathan, on the pod. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm very excited to be here. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being around for so long. I think the live is a great way to grow the community to have opportunities like this. So this is super cool. Thank you.
Hell yeah, brother. And I think you did a great job. You honestly showed me what I need to be doing, which we're starting legit with Mania. I'm going to be going live on TikTok after Manias, after Raws, and just further my content that way. Because like you said, it's a great way to meet people and a great way to get your opinions out there. So for people that don't know, Johnathan, just tell them a little bit, what made you want to start TikToking? Are you a content creator outside of TikTok? Is that something you want to do with your life? Or are you just a wrestling fan that just wanted to talk?
Well, content creation out of TikTok is definitely something that I've considered. I haven't gotten there yet. School's been super busy, so I've been taking things slow. But as for wrestling content, I've been on TikTok since maybe 2020. And of course, you interact with a bunch of your favorite stuff. And I saw a lot of people talking about wrestling. Malik is one of the first people that I saw actually. So when I saw that people were doing that, I'm like, well, I like wrestling. I watch a lot of wrestling. I can do that too. So in summer of 2021, I made this account, the Johnny Wrasslin account, but it was under a different name. I was going by Wrestling Animal, the
Oh, okay.
Wrestling Animal. Um, in hindsight, I thought that was kind of horrible, especially because I wanted something with my name in it, just so like people could have something to call me. That was my name. So I left because I was starting up at a new school and I have a lot of anxiety, so I was getting kind of nervous, like, oh, what if this account does well and people from school find me on TikTok? And I guess I was like afraid of that or whatever. So I stopped the account. But after I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to come back. So January of last year, I think it was like the first, like January 1st, I rebooted it up, got back into it, and been putting in the work ever since.
Hell yeah.
Um, WrestleMania last year, I went live after the show, and that
I
was probably
remember I
live
was I was
at.
in that bitch, bro. We
Yeah.
was hot. We was
Oh yeah,
hot.
for sure. That's where I met so many people that are still familiar faces in the community now. Joined that live, and that was the biggest um live that I've had up to this point. I think the only one that's come close was probably the one I did after Survivor Series, 'cause Punk came back, and that was super hype. But yeah, I've been growing the community, have a Discord. I've met a lot of super cool people. It's just reminded me of why I love wrestling so much, and getting to see the positives of the community, because the rest of the community could
Get
get
toxic.
very toxic. Yeah, it could be a poor place to be a part of. But every now and then I'm reminded that there's people like you, people like, a lot of other people that I met that keep me here. And wrestling's probably my no, not probably. Wrestling's my favorite form of media out there. I don't think I see people talk like making accounts for comic books and all that, and like I watch Marvel movies, all that stuff, but I can't find myself able to talk about anything in the way that I talk about wrestling. So I knew that if I was going to become a content creator, wrestling would be the place for me to start. That's what I did, and been cooking ever since, and it's been
Hell
very
yeah.
good ride. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you came back because, like I said, I was in both of those lives you mentioned, and I can see from the way you discuss wrestling how much you care about it and how much you love it. Literally, I have three of those. My one is movies, the other is anime, as you can see, and then the third is wrestling. And I'm glad I got back into wrestling because I was a ruthless aggression kid, and I fell off in the dark Vince McMahon times of when that dude couldn't book for shit.
Yeah.
It was bad. And see, okay, I didn't know you were that young. You're younger than both Malik and myself. So this is very interesting. what would you say your favorite era of wrestling is? Because you didn't grow up in ruthless aggression, you didn't grow up in attitude. I'm assuming you're a PG era kid. If
Yeah.
is that a good assumption?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as for my favorite era, of course, you become a wrestling fan, you get the network, and then you go
Mm-hmm.
rewatch all the old stuff. So like the content that I've taken in, I do think the Ruthless Aggression era is the era that I consider my favorite. But of course, my favorite to grow up through was probably like that 2016 period where Brand Split came back. I think that was probably my
Is
favorite
that
time.
black and gold? Like when black and gold was cooking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I for me, the best era of NXT is like 2018, 2019, personally. But 2016 was definitely great too. I mean, Joe was still there, Nakamura had just got there, Bobby Roode was there. But yeah, 2016, as an active wrestling fan, that period of time was definitely my favorite. But overall, my favorite era is Ruthless Aggression. That's
Okay,
where
so
most of my favorites come
you broke your teeth growing up in black and gold. That's very
from.
interesting. That so you got to see great matches and you got to see Triple H booking from the jump. So let me
Yeah.
ask you. I always like to diverge from my questions if something comes up. How do you feel being that you saw Triple H at his start booking to now? Do you think Triple H is a competent booker? Do you think he's as good as maybe people like myself will say because all we knew was Vince McMahon? Or do you think, Triple H still has his problems?
Um, I don't think any booker is perfect. I
Facts,
think
fair.
every booker is gonna you're gonna watch a show and there might be at least one thing that you don't like, right? Like 98% of it can be great, but there that 2% might be like, I'm not a fan of this guy, I'm not a fan of the storyline, whatever. So I can't say any book is perfect, but watching Triple H book NXT when Vince McMahon 2018, 2019, when the product was disgusting. I was definitely a part of the train of people that was like, man, I wish Triple H would take over creative because I knew of the potential that he had with what he did with NXT. But NXT is smaller. It was at the time it was 1 hour. They had the takeovers like every few months. It wasn't as much content as the main roster with 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, main event, a pay per view every single month. Um, but just his creative mind, I knew that he could do something. So when it was announced that he was taking over in 2022, I was excited because I hadn't watched Wrestling Weekly in so long. Like 2021, I had checked out. And me, I'm a big Mercedes Moné fan, Sasha Banks
Uh
fan. And 2022, we lost her. I just didn't really have that motivation to tune in too much. So when he took over, like the excitement bubbled up. I could not miss a show. Anytime I get home from school, I'd be waiting for like an hour and a half for Raw to come on, for SmackDown to come on. And it just restored that feeling of what it used to be like when I was in sixth grade or when I was in fourth grade, third grade, when I would come home and I'm waiting for Raw to come on, waiting for SmackDown to come on. I think he's told stories better. I think
mhm.
the way he's handled building up feuds has been better. There's been areas where I have been disappointed. I think the usage of some talent has been rough. Like there's a
Facts.
lot of great talent that I do not see enough. Like I want to see more Cameron Grimes. I want to see more Tegan Knox. A lot of people that he booked fantastically in NXT.
It
So I,
seems like he got his hands full with like, and not to say he can't, but to your point, it's like there's certain people that are falling through the cracks because he's so worried about Cody, Roman, Seth, Drew, Jay, Jimmy, just the main event scene, and then the main event scene for the women with Rhea, Becky, Bianca, Bailey, but people like the Street Profits, who I love. There's no way that the Street Profits shouldn't be in the ladder match competing for the championship.
yeah.
Instead, they're in some bullshit with the Final Testament. And granted, I like Cross from his time in NXT, but I just feel like we are wasting the Street Profits right now. So that's a great example.
Right. And I think that's another thing too. With the tag team division, that's another place where I think he's been very all over the place. Like there's been
Mm-hmm.
some great tag team stuff, don't get me wrong. Like when the Usos were reigning, um, the work that they were doing was fantastic before the bloodline broke up. Like the whole Usos versus KO Sammy thing, one of the
It
best
was
feuds of last
beautiful.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the tag team scene has had its positives, but now it's just so stacked. Like, and everybody talks about it. Like, you gotta split the tag titles because teams like the Street Profits, teams like the Creed Brothers, why are they not at WrestleMania? Like,
Facts.
that's crazy to me. So there's so many teams, and I think it'd be very much easier to handle if you split the tag titles. And Triple H, one of my sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't. He waits. A lot of times he waits. He's very patient, and sometimes it could be patient and the payoff could suck, or it could be a payoff like we might see this weekend with Cody if he wins the title. Like, that's great stuff, but like it could be inconsistent sometimes. However, overall, watching Vince McMahon's later product, the stuff that he was doing, Triple H has been far more consistent, far better with his production of content than the Vince McMahon was in last year's he was the creator.
Hell yeah, couldn't agree more. Now, before we get into the card and WrestleMania, I gotta ask so our fans can know and they can start to follow you and everything. Give me your top five favorite wrestlers of all time. And this is not the objective, oh, who you think is the best. They could be the best, but I want to know who are your favorites. You know what I'm saying? Like your personal top five.
Okay, so we're talking wrestlers in general or like strictly WWE?
Okay, so give me WWE wrestlers overall, and then you
Mhm.
could do wrestling in general overall, and then I want top five current. So we got three. We'll do back to
Okay.
back.
Well, for I always say Mercedes is probably like my favorite wrestler, right? But then it goes to this I'll say for this top five, it's for WWE all time, it's Daniel Randy Orton, John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Daniel Bryan, and I want to say Edge. That's
Okay,
the top five for
got
WWE.
you.
For wrestlers in general, then it goes Bryan Danielson. So he just like his whole overall career takes
Hmm.
to number one. Randy or it's honestly pretty much the same. I think it's Bryan, Randy, Cena, and then maybe like AJ Styles, Kurt Angle.
Got you.
Yeah,
Got you.
the
Solid
other
list.
two.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. And then current, give me your who you rocking. Who's your five favorite current today?
Current, I probably say um if we're talking in general, AW included, then I gotta go Bryan, Cody. I've been feeling Will Ospreay's in my top five lately. So I say Will Ospreay, Randy Orton, of course, and I swear I just made a list too. That's why I'm trying to think who else was on this list. I'll say probably CM Punk.
All
I'll
right,
say
hell
CM.
yeah. Well, beautiful because this is so interesting. We'll do this. Like I said, I always like to take detours, and you're a man that loves wrestling, and we love to chat when me and you chat. So let me ask you, Will Ospreay is so interesting because he's clearly incredible in the ring. He's over, but the thing I'm worried about is can he talk when people, aren't necessarily hype? Can he tell a story? That's what
Mhm.
I'm worried about. And I think Punk in his latest interview with Ariel Helwani really kind of opened my eyes because I was very much so Omega, King Omega, the Bucks, like forget Punk, forget Punk, forget Punk. But then when Punk really said things, it made me look at AEW like, okay, wait, they don't really tell stories. Who's in charge there? Like, there is clearly a leadership problem because, as you know, you love the women's division, but that gets thrown to the side. It
Yeah.
seems like Tony just has his favorites, and I think Jay White should have went to WWE. I think he's getting wasted there. I don't think it'll happen to Osprey. But my question to you is, do you think AEW will begin to tell stories? Will it be more long form stuff, or do you think they just care more about dream matches? And does that worry you for Osprey reaching the pinnacle he could reach?
Mhm. Okay. So the biggest issue with Tony Khan, and like to book wrestling, you obviously have to like wrestling. You have to be a fan of wrestling in some
Facts.
capacity. But for Tony Khan, I feel like he doesn't know how to separate being a fan and also being that professional booker. Like Punk was saying, like
And
he's
running
a
a
nice guy,
business.
right?
Yeah.
He's a nice guy, but you gotta know not necessarily to yeah, how do I word this? To you gotta know not necessarily when to not be a nice guy, but to be that professional, right? Like, because you can have wrestlers that got you, because of course Tony made a company later into the business, so he spent a lot of time watching it. So yeah, he could be a fan of Kenny Omega. Yeah, he could be a fan of the Young Bucks. I don't knock him for that. I mean, how could you not be? Those are great talents. But you can't let your love for a lot of these wrestlers um, kind of blind you in a way because
Facts.
that leads to him prioritizing specific. Like, why is for me, it's like why is guys like Chris Jericho still in the position that they're in when there's
Meanwhile,
so
Malachi
many
Black
other
is can't get a
Malachi
singles
Black.
match.
Exactly. Like there's so much incredible talent. And that's the frustrating thing about AEW because we get stressed out about AEW's wrongs, not because we wish this, well, I mean, some people might, but like for guys like me, like it's not because we don't want the company to succeed, but it's because
Facts.
we know what the company can be. And when you're
100%.
not being that, it's stressful, right? Because guys like Jay White, I know he's not gonna come in and immediately become world champion. Like, no.
And that's
But
not what I wanted either. To your point, like, let him tell the stories that we know he's capable of. Don't
right,
put him in these feuds that don't really matter. And then I also have a bone with Tony because I feel the way he books black wrestlers is kind of piss poor, if I'm being
yeah,
honest. Like, granted, the Swerve thing, Swerve maybe shouldn't have won at the last one. He maybe should win a dynasty, but look at Ricky Starks. Look at the Acclaim. There's people that Tony has just done dirty. And I just feel like he prioritizes his favorites, and maybe a lot of people of color aren't necessarily his favorites.
right. And that's so weird to me too, because like it's hard to I don't want to call Tony racist,
And
right?
I'm not, and yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
not doing
yeah.
that either. I'm just
But
saying
it's hard.
it's a pattern I noticed.
A guy like Ricky Starks, especially, is one of the most total package talents that I have ever seen.
Yep.
Right. So if you as a booker are not seeing that and you're pushing him to the side or you're pushing him in the tag team, which of course not being a tag team is not always a bad thing, but like a guy like Ricky Starks who's been in AEW since the pandemic has he has not had much of any single success whatsoever. And it's like how do you let that happen when he's way more talented than a lot of the guys that you have been prioritizing?
Yep.
So, like, it may not be a color thing, but at the same time, it's hard to not think that because this is what you're doing. The only person of color who like had that crazy success in AEW was Jade, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
even with Jade, there was inconsistency with her booking because then you go back to what you were mentioning of his like inability to tell stories, especially in the women's division. And sure, she was a dominant champion, but I'm pretty sure you could ask any diehard AEW fan who's never missed a show, what did Jade's reign look like? And I promise you they could not tell you.
And that's
They
what yeah, like when you I'm glad you mentioned her because she and just so we can make it seem like we're not saying that Tony's a racist, there are people that I think also have gotten the short end of the stick as well who aren't necessarily African American
right,
wrestlers because just as an African American myself, I it's something I noticed. But to your point about Jade, I'm gonna connect it to another wrestler. Jade did so many squash matches that the only feud I can tell you that was kind of memorable for her was either the Layla Gray feud, which didn't end the right way,
mhm,
or the feud with Chris Statlander. And another wrestler that I feel is had that situation, Wardlow.
yeah,
Wardlow was on
absolutely,
fire. Tony didn't know what to do with him because you had him beat MJF, but then you give MJF the title. So it's like, what do I do with Wardlow? Instead of, maybe pushing him to the forefront some way, you just let that man fall to the wayside, and then you bring him back with Undisputed Kingdom only to make him lose again. So now my thing is, should I even care about Wardlow?
right. It's weird because it's like Tony for a second, like he catches on to what he needs to do, and then he does it for a moment, and then he completely goes off and does
Backpedals,
another thing.
yeah.
Because with Wardlow back in 2022, the way that all went down, like him giving Punk the brass knuckles, like the face turn, all of that was handled to perfection. The momentum
Mm-hmm.
was sky high. He was one of the most over people in the whole company. And then you set up him versus MJF at Double or Nothing, which was the perfect place to do it. You had to do that. Then you had him squash MJF, but then you have MJF come out and cut this promo that completely takes the attention off of Wardlow, and you're making it seem like okay, MJF just got squashed, but he's still way more important than
Mm-hmm.
Wardlow. And now we we see that, we're not even thinking about Wardlow. We're thinking about the fact that MJF just cut this promo where he's saying Tony's signing all these ex WWE guys. This is a great promo. Of course, we're gonna be infatuated by it. And now we're not thinking of Wardlow, and the
at
Wardlow
all.
completely falls. And I don't even remember what he did after
He
that.
had that three-way feud with Samoa Joe and Powerhouse Hobbs. And Hobbs is another guy that I think is incredible that doesn't get the
Yeah,
run he deserves. So it's like, it's very weird over there. And hopefully they can turn it around. Because to your point, I'm not one of those guys either that wants AEW to fail just for WWE or not. Wrestling is better when there's competition. And I
right.
see, to your point, how much talent AEW has. It can be incredible, but I don't know what needs to change for Tony to make it get to the full potential.
For me, I think he needs more people in his ear creatively. Like,
Who
of
are
course,
not wrestlers, who are,
yeah,
yeah, facts.
of course, I don't know what goes on back there. I can't say that Tony has like 1000% control and he doesn't listen to anybody. Like, I don't believe that Tony Khan's a horrible person. I'm sure he considers other people's ideas, but I feel like he has most of the say. And I think he needs someone else to tell him no. Like,
Yeah, I
this
agree.
isn't the way you should handle this. This is the way you should do this. This person should be doing that. That person should be doing that. It feels like it's all up to Tony and only Tony. Like, we go back to Triple H when he was booking NXT, like he had Shawn Michaels, he had William
Mm-hmm.
Regal, he had all these other guys who also had control. I feel like Tony is doing most of it by his lonesome. And I think until he gets another, not just one, but more voices in his head that are unbiased, objective, then we might still see those
Those
inconsistencies.
inconsistent 100%. And final thing I'll say just to add on to what you're saying, he needs his team because I know Triple H is using William Regal. I know Shawn Michaels is in NXT, but I'm sure he talks to Shawn about it. Bruce Pritchard is there. There's multiple people in the bill. Michael Hayes, who everyone respects from the Freebirds. He just needs people in his ear who aren't active wrestlers to can skew things their way. Not saying that active like I don't think Bryan Danielson's doing that. I don't think his thing is to make me champion. But I feel like it what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like it matters that someone that's not a boy, or some, when I say boy, I mean the boys, quote unquote, the locker room,
Yeah.
someone who's not one of the boys or girls in the locker room to have a voice, because if you don't, then because you're such a nice guy, you kind of lean towards whoever gives you the best pitch, essentially. And that's what it seems like is happening. But I digress. Enough AEW talk. I just had to ask it because, that's some of the thing going on right now. But this is WrestleMania week. Let's get into it. How do you feel that the build for WrestleMania has been thus far? I can say that Triple H has had his high points, but just we're not going to fully praise Triple H if we can get on Tony. I think the way Triple H has handled Bayley and Io's feud has been kind of lackluster. I think some of the things for Rhea and Bianca have been less. I mean, not Rhea and Bianca. Rhea and Becky has been lackluster, and I think Bianca, Jade, Naomi was just thrown together. And I know people like us who love Bianca, who love Jade, who love Naomi are hyped because this is something we've never seen before. I even said that this is going to be one of those moments that is remembered forever, like when The Rock threw up the fist with the Nation of Domination. It's so important that that happened. But if I really want to be honest, what's the storyline there? So I feel like Triple H has had his blunders, but for every blunder, we got The Rock beating Cody, making him bleed, and really getting us back to a non-PG era. So how have you felt about the build for just across the board for WrestleMania 40?
Well, I think Triple H is another guy. It may not be as crazy as Tony's has been, but like I think he's another guy who does prioritize other things over
Facts.
some stuff that should also be prioritized as much. And even if it's not intentional, it's still it's shown that, like you said, Rhea versus Becky Lynch, that might as well be a first time ever match. It happened, of course, back in NXT like 2019 during that Survivor Series build, but this Rhea Ripley, this Becky Lynch, it's easily one of the biggest matches that they could do for the women's division right now. One of the biggest matches that they could do in general. And it's like, it's just another match on the card. Like when I made my video recently of like matches that just like on paper I'm most excited for, and I put Becky versus Rhea in there. You had someone in the comments saying that they're not as hyped for Becky versus Rhea, and I can't blame them for that
Can't
because
argue
like
it.
I mean, I completely understand because the story does a lot. It's like Rhea versus Charlotte last year. Like, yeah, Rhea Charlotte, this is Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. We know the match has potential to be an all-timer, but because the story is so lackluster, I can't seem to get excited for it.
They
So
did
as for the
more
build,
build just to add on to what you're saying. They did more build outside of the TV show with Becky and Rhea at Ariel Hawani or Becky
and it
going to the
also
Breakfast
it's
Club.
very last minute too, though. Like
Yep,
that stuff was great, but
it
why weren't
happened
you
this
doing
week.
that
Yeah,
for the past 3, 4 months? This is a
facts.
WrestleMania feud, a feud that could main event WrestleMania if handled properly. And just now, just this week, we're getting brawls that have us excited for it. Like, no, like this is
Yeah,
Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, and I feel like that's what's been done
they
with a
should be
lot of
treated just like Cody and Roman, like
exactly,
because that Rhea is arguably your biggest champion next to Roman Reigns. Like the same way
absolutely.
you build Roman, the same way you build Seth is the same way you should build Bailey and Rhea, or well, excuse me, Io and Rhea, who are the champions.
Yeah, I genuinely can't think of a feud right now that has been like prioritized as much as um Cody, Roman, Rock, Seth, which I understand it's your biggest thing of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course you put that at the top,
It's the
but
reason why everyone in the world who isn't a wrestling fan is now
right,
tuning in. Like, this is arguably the biggest wrestling has been since the Attitude Era.
yeah, yeah, and like I understand putting that on a 10, but like why does everything else have to feel like a 5 or 6? Why
Mm-hmm.
can't we put multiple things on 10? Because I really can't see any feud besides like everything feels like it's had its inconsistencies. Like on paper, I've talked about it. I do think this is pretty much a flawless card. There's nothing that I am not excited for. Like it probably would be the Bobby Lashley Street Profits match, but then you made that a street fight, so I get a little bit excited for it because it's a street fight. But
And honestly,
sure,
you can argue that that match has had more teeth, even though I agree with you. And I'm not like, at first I was like, oh, we're doing this one. But if I want to be meticulous, that feud has had a bigger build than Sammy Gunther, for example,
yeah,
where you have a storyline that's right there in your face with Chad Gable that's like built in. But now we're doing this Sammy Rocky thing that started 2 weeks ago. And it's like, do I buy into this? It's like, come on,
yeah.
man, what we doing?
Like it's WrestleMania. I feel like this is
Mm-hmm.
the time where we have to be telling stories. Not every single match on the card has to be some 9 month fully fleshed out story. Sure. Like some stuff is gonna have a few month build, that's fine. But for the big championships, for your women's world championship, for your WWE women's championship, for the intercontinental championship, with a champion who's reigned for 500 plus days, having the greatest IC title run of all time, matches like that shouldn't be having stories that have been told for just the past few months.
I
And
agree.
I feel like a lot of the feuds going into Mania just kicked off Rumble season, post
Yeah,
Rumble. And
100%.
the only one that's been going on for super long, or not the only one, you have Jimmy J. That's
Yep.
been going for a while, but that took a break too.
I would say LA Knight, AJ Styles, that started like right before Elimination Chamber,
Yeah,
essentially. So that's one that I can say. But to your point, it took breaks in between.
right.
I would have gave him Logan Paul, Kevin Owens, but we threw Randy in there just because Randy didn't have nothing to do. So it's like,
Yeah,
what is that?
yeah. It's so much stuff that just feels last minute as a fan because Triple H maybe he had a vision. Maybe in November he knew that he
And,
was going to
and,
be
and maybe The Rock kind of
big.
messed some of that up because it honestly felt like Randy Orton was going to go solo, Jimmy J, Roman Rock, Seth. If Punk's injury messed it up, it still would have been Seth Drew. And I feel like WrestleMania pre The Rock's involvement, I think me and you and fans who love storytelling may have been more invested in the stories. Not saying that this card won't be good because we'll get to the positives of this in a little bit, but to your point, I think Triple H had to pivot everything around, and when The Rock came, it really threw a curveball in his planning.
Yeah, and I mean it's unfortunate. Like maybe they thought The Rock would be so over because he's literally The Rock that
Mm-hmm.
they would be able to go with Roman versus The Rock or whatever. And they got unexpected backlash and they had to change things. Sure, but I mean I want Roman versus The Rock. I've talked about it like back in 2021 when I was around. That was on my dream card for WrestleMania 38. Like I want Roman Reigns versus The Rock to happen. But some things are just so like obvious in your face that you should be doing, and you should be doing Roman versus Cody one-on-one. You should be
Mhm.
doing Gunther versus Chad Gable. Like there's some things that you just can't pass up on. And I feel like going into this Mania, a few things got passed up on. A few things didn't get prioritized as much because Bailey and Io should feel like one of the biggest
It
matches
should.
on the card. Like that's two women who have been involved with each other since 2022. If not for Bailey, Io probably would not even be in the company anymore. She
That's a
was on the verge of leaving.
Kyrie
And
Satan wouldn't be. I could tell you
yeah, so
that.
much would be different with the careers of Bailey, Kyrie, Io in these past
Oh
couple
shoot,
years,
Dakota too,
or
because he brought
Dakota.
Dakota
Yeah,
back.
I meant to say
Yeah.
Dakota. If not for Bailey, and I just feel like that hasn't even been a thing. Like they've been feuding because Bailey was holding damage control back and they needed to let her go. Whatever. Like,
And they talk bad about Bailey, but like to your
yeah,
point,
that's so light.
Bailey should have gave a fire promo about how Dakota, you were fired. I brought you back. Kyrie,
Exactly.
you were going back to Japan. Same with you. Like that's to your point. That's what you need to dive into. And I think this is not just a AEW thing. This is not just a WWE thing, but the women's divisions in wrestling needs to be taken more seriously. And I know
Absolutely.
for you, as someone who really champions women's wrestling, that's why I really was excited to bring you on because you can talk to that. You can attest to that about how these women aren't getting proper treatment.
Yeah. So women's wrestling is funny enough, what started me watching wrestling, my sister, she stumbled upon wrestling on YouTube. She would watch Divas matches from NXT during the time when they were the game show. And she was like, so she thought the Bellas were super cool, the twin magic thing that they do. She would be like, Jonathan, come look at this. And she's my older sister. She'd be like, come look at this. And I'd watch the clips with her, become a fan of AJ, become a fan of Paige, all the women at that time. So women's wrestling was the start for me. And then you go through that revolution, that evolution, and then Sasha Banks comes in. Now she's my favorite, and so many other women that I love. And I just feel like women's wrestling at its peak, when women's wrestling is handled right, it's one of the best things. It's when you
Mm-hmm.
get Sasha Bailey in Brooklyn. It's when you get Becky and Charlotte at Evolution. Like that stuff is special. It's like what we're seeing right now in basketball with Caitlin Clark and Angel
Yep.
Reese and what they're doing. Like when you treat women like they are equal because they are equal,
They do special
9 times out of
things.
10, it's gonna be special, right? And when you have women in women's matches like Bailey versus Io Scott, two women that are two of the best women of their era, two of the best women ever, two game changers for women's wrestling. Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, same thing applies. When you have matches like these are matches that should feel like main event matches. These are stories that should go down as some of the greatest stories ever told. And then when it's not that, it's like, how do you let this happen? And then the only justifiable answer to that is because you just don't care. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, like it's not. I'm not a book. I'm not gonna say that it's super easy to book good wrestling because there's a lot of wrestling going on. There's a lot that you have to do,
But it showed
but
you showed that you can do it in other areas. And to your point,
exactly
this shows you don't care. Like
right,
and you maybe you do, but from my perspective and your perspective, we can't say that you do because I look at how you do Drew, how you do Seth, how you do Cody, how you do some of these big name stars. It's like why don't they get the same treatment?
exactly. It just doesn't make sense because these are names like what you said about Rhea Ripley. Like I'm seeing Rhea go viral with casuals on social media every other week.
People
This is
love
one of
her,
the
bro.
biggest women, one of the biggest wrestlers in the world
The
right
fact
now.
that the Breakfast Club knew who Rhea Ripley was and they saw the stink face, they know how popular she is, and they drew so much viewers with Becky. That shows that people care, and the fact that it's on the Breakfast Club, bro. I never would have expected to see WWE people
Seriously,
on the Breakfast Club, and it's like
but
if that platform and being the top platform in the Black community and some of these top platforms people care about, it's like well, damn, why don't you give them more so they can make more money for you?
exactly. And you should see with what they've done in this past week that they can treat
Mm-hmm.
these stories as their as big deals, but why are you waiting until the week of WrestleMania to make Becky
Literally
Lynch
Wednesday,
versus Rhea Ripley a
Thursday.
big
Like,
deal? Like, if you weren't gonna freaking include Nia Jax and Liv Morgan in the match at Mania, why were they so heavily involved in this Rhea Ripley
mm-hmm.
Becky Lynch feud? One of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest feuds that WWE could do right now, and you've got all these other women involved in it, and going into Mania, Liv and Nia won't even be on the card. What was their purpose in this story? It was literally a Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan feud and a Becky Lynch and Nia Jax feud. And then last minute, okay, now it's Rhea versus Becky. We just knew that it was going to be that match. You had the graphic and everything, but it never felt like Rhea versus Becky until 4 days away from WrestleMania. You don't care. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only explanation. You don't care. You didn't try hard enough because we're watching you with Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody, all those guys, like you said, and you going in telling these stories. And like you lost CM Punk, you had to bring in Drew.
You still
This,
got
this
Punk doing
exact,
shit.
like you got this last minute story with Drew versus Seth, and it's still one of the best feuds going into Mania. And you had to do this shit last minute. So you mean to tell me that you couldn't do Becky versus Rhea, a match that you probably knew you were gonna do this whole time?
Oh, not probably. They definitely knew because look at the press conference that they had where Cody decided to go against Roy. The only people on that press conference was Becky and Rhea that were women. I mean,
Exactly.
Bianca was there because Bianca was promoting her TV show, but like you knew that match was happening then. Why did we not build from that moment until now and wait to do some of the best stuff literally Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of WrestleMania week? That's
Right.
insane to me.
It just makes no sense. And for me, I see all the trends all the time. uh Book the women better. WWE women deserve better, and I'm all for that. I
Mm-hmm.
know what the Give Divas a Chance did for women's wrestling. So like you want to tweet about it, you can tweet about it, and I'll tweet about it too, just because I support it. But I've been watching this for too long. It's
Mm-hmm.
always been this roller coaster. Like you get a feud like Sasha versus Becky in 2019, and then a few months later we're getting a feud like Sasha and Bailey versus Lacey Evans that makes
Yeah.
me not want to like. It's always been
Up and
inconsistent,
down.
and
That's
at
a
this
fact.
point, I just unfortunately I'm used to it.
Let
They'll
me
care when they
ask
want
you.
to care.
Let me ask you, and then this will be the final thing before we get to the card.
Mhm.
Should the women's division get a mid card? Because I've seen people talk about that a bunch, and I wanted to bring that up this week, but I felt you were the perfect person to talk to because I would consider you the man when it comes to not acknowledging, analyzing women's wrestling. Like that's your stuff. Would you say they deserve a mid card? I would say yes, but the way they book the tag titles is kind of concerning. But I'd say this: we have the two women's titles. Let's put the tag on Raw and put an Intercontinental on SmackDown, and those are the two mid. Like, I'm sorry, as much as we love tag, they do not do that right. So let's just treat the tags like a mid card championship for Raw, and then have the women's Intercontinental as the mid card for SmackDown.
Yes. Well, for starters, I do think they should do a big card title. I was always on the fence for the same reason because they can't handle the tag titles properly. Could they handle the mid card title properly? But I think that's a risk that you just got to
You
take
got to take it. Yep.
because there's so many women.
Like
Like
Chelsea
it's
Green should have a
insane.
belt. Like,
Exactly. Like so many insanely talented women, so many entertaining women right now. The Chelsea Greens, Candice
I was
LeRae's,
about to say
all those
Candace with their
women.
heel run is she's
Like
showing.
the extra title is necessary.
Tiffany
And I see
Stratton.
people, Tiffany Stratton, so many women on the come up. Like Roxy needs to get called up soon. When Cora's back, she should get called up. People who've been in NXT for
Lyra
like 4
Valkyrie.
years.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's almost out of there after she drops the title. So there's so many women right now that you have so many women incoming. And I think the new title, big card title, would be perfect. I see people try to choose one or the other, say that you got to get rid of the tag titles if you're going to do a mid
Ah,
card.
keep them both.
But I think you have to have them both because there's just so many women, and three titles would not be enough. The tag titles, the average tag title feud, of course, is going to be 2-on-2, right? Sometimes it might be triple threat, sometimes it might be four way, but the average tag title feud is getting 4 more women on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like you need the tag titles for more women. The issue is not the tag titles. I know people like to joke and say they're cursed, which sometimes
No,
it
it's the
feels
people
like they are.
booking it.
but the issue is not the tag titles existing, it's the booking. And I was against the tag titles when they first were introduced. Well, when they were rumored, I knew Sasha and Bailey wanted them, and I'm like, I don't think they should do tag titles. Then they introduced them. The designs were beautiful. They announced that Elimination Chamber match, and I'm like, okay, maybe you do have enough teams to have a good tag title division. They pulled me in, and then they let
Just
me
to
down.
hurt you.
And then they pulled me back in
Yeah.
with some of the runs that they did, like
Sasha,
Alexa,
Naomi, like,
yeah, like,
yeah.
and then they take me out again, and then they pull me. It goes back to the up and down. But I do think a mid card title that probably would end up being up and down too, unfortunately, because that's just how it is. But I do think a women's mid card title would be very beneficial. To have it on SmackDown with tag titles on Raw, that could be really good too. I think the tag titles also need to go to NXT more,
Okay.
especially for the
Yeah, because
NXT
they
Women's Division as
combined
well.
them. Like,
Right,
what?
which is so stupid.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
but the women's division in NXT also super stacked, so they could use another set of titles too. But yeah, I think they definitely should introduce the women's mid card title.
100%. And I don't want anyone listening thinking like, man, y'all are being negative. It's like, no, it's not negative. It's us being honest about
Yeah,
what we
definitely.
love. And if you can't accept the honesty, then maybe you're just being a blind shill. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I get loving WWE so much, but if you love it to the point where you can't be honest about it, then that's a problem. But
Yeah.
now let's get into the excitement. I'm gonna go through each match. I want your pick for each match, and you can tell me a little bit about it. Let's
All
start
right.
with night one. Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio. How do you feel about that
Okay.
match and who you got?
For the win, I want to say Santos and Dominic
I
just
agree.
because Ray beat Dominic last year,
And I
but
think
to have
Carlito turning heel.
yes, that too. So there's so many things that factor in for the fact that Dominic and Santos might win. Also, just I think they should win. Dragon Lee having this moment just to be at WrestleMania with Rey
Yeah,
Mysterio
big for him.
within his first year on the main roster. Like, sure he could lose, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Plus, I don't even think he should get pinned. I think Dominic or Santos should pin Ray because it's
Mm-hmm.
freaking Rey Mysterio. It's not going to hurt them or hurt
I
him.
agree.
Um,
Because like
but
Dragon Lee being there was kind of shocking because I thought Andrade was gonna make
Well, the thing
WrestleMania
that
for
I
sure.
wanted was the big multi-person tag match with Zelina and Elektra and all that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was sad that they didn't do that. But I'm glad all of them got involved. It was getting close to Mania. I wasn't sure if Dominic was even going to be on the show, so I'm glad they figured
Mm-hmm.
out something for him. Um, I'd say that's been one of my favorite stories, kind of. I mean, I love seeing Dominic and Ray interact, even when they were no longer feuding and they did the Thanksgiving and Christmas stuff. That was super fun.
And
Of
true,
course,
this is one with an actual story. To your point,
right. Ray got injured, so I can't like blame the Ray Santos side of it for slowing up a little bit because Ray got injured. What could you do? But yeah, I think this was the right match to have. Um, and yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. Should probably be like 13 minutes, just
yeah.
nonstop action, super fun. Yeah, hopefully Dominic and Santos pick up.
Hell yeah. All right, give me your winner for this one, even though I think we both agree who's gonna win this. I don't think this one's close. Bianca, Naomi Jade versus Damage Control.
It's got to be Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. One, because Bianca's undefeated at WrestleMania, and I think when she loses that undefeated streak, it should be in a
It should
match
mean
that
something.
means something.
Yep.
Exactly. And Jade, this is her first bit. Well, she was in the Rumble, but this like
Yeah.
the first
Her
match where
first
there's
real thing,
more
yeah.
focus on her. And she's someone who's coming off of a long undefeated streak. I think maybe you don't have her go as long undefeated as she did in
But you
AEW,
can't
but
have
she's
them
someone.
lose.
Right.
Yeah.
She's someone who, for a good while, she should be taking significant wins. And Naomi, she just came back. Like all the signs point to Bianca, Naomi, and Jade winning.
Hell yeah.
Like you said, kind of last minute with the Jade being a part of it and everything coming together. But I'm just glad they're on the card. I'm glad the tag titles didn't feel irrelevant tag champs on the card, and should be a fun match.
Hell yeah. And it's big for women everywhere, but specifically really big for African American women. So I'm
Oh
excited
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
Next up, the 6-pack ladder match. Who you got winning? And if you do have, and with your winners, give me, if you have it split, give me one champion and then the other champion.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for that. That should be car crash, super fun, everybody everywhere. As for the winner, if they don't split the titles, I think DIY might take it. If they do split the titles, I'm thinking Awesome Truth and maybe A-Town Down Under, just because R-Truth taking one of the titles and
Yeah,
not
that's
knowing to
happening.
grab the other one, that just makes the most sense to split the titles.
Now, I do
But yeah.
think, not to cut you off, I do think that it doesn't have to be a SmackDown team to pull the SmackDown belts because
Mhm.
I'm with you. I think Awesome Truth is winning with a Raw belt, but I could still see DIY pulling the blue one.
Okay. I mean, that also would be, I mean, DIY and Awesome Truth, they've interacted a lot lately. So, I mean, Truth might be so crazy that he just hands
Them,
DIY the
yeah.
other set of tag titles. So, I mean, I can see that happening. Yeah, that'd be fun. I hope they split the tag titles. It's time.
I'm with you. All right, Jimmy and Jay. This is tough for me because when I do my official picks, it's obvious Jay should win, but it's like,
Mhm.
what does that do for them? And wouldn't Jimmy benefit more? And if you have Jimmy win, you could do another one at SummerSlam where Jay tries to get his. You could stretch it, but if Jay wins, it's over in my opinion.
Right. For
So I
me,
don't know. I'm torn.
I wanted Jay. Well, I do think Jay's gonna win.
Okay,
Just because that's kind of the obvious one, and I try to go with the safe
facts.
pick. But I want the bloodline. It's time to move on from
Yeah, I
this
agree.
version of the bloodline. The Roman was Solo because I'm a Solo guy. I support Solo, and like seeing all the Solo slander in the past months because he's not been able to do much of anything. It's like he needs to get away from the bloodline. If his stock is gonna improve, we gotta get Solo away from the bloodline. Yeah, I just think this version of the bloodline as we know it comes to an end when Roman drops the title. So for me, I wanted Jay to win and then him and Jimmy to hug it out afterwards, Jimmy to turn face. Um, but they could definitely stretch it out because if Jimmy does win this match, Jay has to win the overall feud.
Mm-hmm.
Jay broke out from the bloodline. He got screwed at SummerSlam by Jimmy. Like everything points to Jay being the one to win this feud. So if Jimmy does win it, they could stretch it out to SummerSlam. I mean, Backlash is in France, so they might, go big with that show, and they
Mm-hmm.
could just stretch it to Backlash. But for the safe pick, I'm gonna pick Jada.
I don't blame you on that. That's probably what I'll end up doing. It's just I'm so torn.
Yeah,
And honestly, if this feud could have had a little more build, you should have had Rikishi as like the special referee. Like
exactly. Absolutely agree.
it just goes to show that, like we were saying, some builds just aren't getting enough love. All right,
Right.
Intercontinental Champion Gunther versus Sami Zayn. I'm very interested to see about this. Do you think Zayn does the Rocky story? Is this WrestleMania's Rocky story?
The thing that interests me so much about Gunther versus Sammy is despite them not going with Gable, they've still put him in this feud.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, like I held on to the Gunther Gable match for so long and I'm trying to let it go, just move on, but he's still involved. So my heart is telling me that maybe Gunther retains, Gable gets
Bash
his
at
match,
Berlin, man.
and exactly. So I don't know. I for one didn't think Sammy should have been in the match, not because
Facts.
like Sammy's like top 10. I like Sammy more than I like Chad Gable, honestly. I'm a
Same.
big Sami Zayn fan. But I felt his story was for the world title because Sami
Mm-hmm.
Zayn has been Intercontinental Champion 3 times. It feels like this is just his last resort. And that's not
Honestly,
good for the IC title.
you could have honestly, now that you say that, I could see him losing to push him to his lowest and then have him win Money in the Bank for the
Mhm.
that shit. Even though, what does the Money in the Bank thing mean these days anyway?
Yeah. But Money in the Bank would be good. That would be a good story just because I do think we're going Drew beats Seth and then Punk beats Drew. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
think Punk needs to hold the title long. I want to see KO beat Punk. And if Sammy has Money in the Bank, KO's World Heavyweight Champion, you can set up a story there.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see that happening. I think Gunther should retain just because I'm not saying this as a fan of Chad Gable, but like Gable's literally the perfect person to dethrone Gunther.
I
You
agree.
set that story up. The moment that you booked Gunther to beat Gable and then laugh about Gable's kids crying,
That's
and
the
then you
story.
said
Mm,
had Gable say, "I swear to God, for my family, I'm going to beat Gunther." The moment that you say that, Gable has to be Gunther, right?
yeah, I
So I
agree.
think Gunther should win, and I lean towards him winning.
All right. Next one, we got Rhea Ripley and Becky. Who do you have winning?
This is another one where I'm not completely sure because since Rhea's been champion for a year at this point, you would think that, okay, it might be time to end it. Maybe Becky wins. But I also don't think Becky needs this win because Rhea is the one that we're propelling to the future. We want Rhea to beat the Charlottes. We want her to beat the Becky Lynches. So I feel like Rhea should get this win. Um, it's so hard when a feud is not booked as well as you would hope because the way a story is told really contributes to who you think might win.
Mm-hmm.
Because does this person, like the person with most momentum, they might be trying to swerve you, and the person with the least momentum is going to win. This feud hasn't been a back
That.
and forth, so it's hard to pick who's going to win based off the feud. It's just really based on vibes. And based on vibes, I want to go Rhea because it doesn't feel like Becky's gonna. I
I feel
just
like
don't.
Triple H is using Becky to just push his champion to the top,
Yeah,
more so to the
yeah,
top. Yeah,
definitely.
I'm with you on that. All right, and then we got night one: The Rock, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth. Look, I'm gonna say this up front. This is one that I don't have to wait for my picks episode. To me, John, there's no way that's Cody and Seth win this because if Cody and Seth win this, that tells me Roman is winning night two.
Yeah, that with Cody Sutherland, it gets really scary for night two.
Mm-hmm.
This is potentially Roman's last weekend as champion. Roman Reigns, who has reigned as champion since 2020, one of the most historic reigns of all time. I don't see him losing twice in the same weekend.
Nope.
So he's
But
got
I
to
don't
win
see him
one of
getting
these
the
matches.
pin either. I don't see him being the one to pin Cody. I think, and let me see how you feel about this. I think Roman will go to pin Cody. The Rock comes and messes that up. Final boss. One, two,
Because
three.
Roman versus The Rock, I think, is inevitable. If they can do it next year, they will do it next year
But
at
you got to set it up
WrestleMania.
now. You got to start the
You
feud now.
got to start it now, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
because The Rock is about to go away
He's
for
about to go
who
do
knows
more.
how long. Exactly. So you got to start it now. So Roman could, well, Roman probably leave too for a little bit, but you have to plant the seeds now. So I definitely could see, and the story has been told mostly Cody versus The Rock anyway.
Facts.
So if Roman's going to pin Cody or whomever he's going to pin to win the tag match, and The Rock wants to tag in, it makes sense for him to want to have that moment to embarrass Cody Rhodes in
And if
front
The
of his
Rock
family.
does that, that sets up Rock versus Cody after Cody wins.
Exactly. That would be
Mm-hmm.
great as well. So yeah, and I just feel like if it's gonna be Roman's last defense against Cody, they're gonna go crazy with it. And how much crazier could you go than Bloodline rules? So
Yep,
yeah, I
I
got Rock
agree.
and Roman.
And it would, and honestly, for Cody's story, they've infused the hard times line from Dusty into Cody. What's more hard than going to, not only did you have to win all your way back, but now the finals, like icing
Exactly.
on the cake, is bloodline rules. So, but we'll
Yeah.
get to that match shortly. All right, we got Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament. I'm glad they didn't call him the Pride because that name is trash. It should have been it should have been Street Business. That's what they named
Yeah,
should
that
have
would have
been.
been far better. Um, Cross, the Final Testament is it's interesting because Cross needs it
He does.
badly.
He
He
does.
really needs it. But should Bobby and the
And
Prophet
Profits lose? Yeah, that's my thing,
it's
bro.
it
That is my thing.
it's
It
crazy
fucks with
that
me.
that ends up being one of the more conflicting matches on a card like this
Because you want
because
the Final Testament to win, so they're a legitimate, solidified heel group that matters. If they
right.
lose, that cuts them at the legs. But it's like, are you going to let Bobby and the Street Profits lose, who've been losing constantly and haven't been mattering? It's like, bro, you're fucked.
Yeah, I don't even know. I can only just give prediction. I'm gonna say the Final Testament just because
Okay.
I feel like Triple H he's been like, if you're not gonna push Cross, why is he still in this prominent position? Why is he getting a match at WrestleMania and so many
Facts.
people aren't? Right. So
Like we don't
we
have Braun
know
Breaker at
exactly.
WrestleMania.
We know guys like Bobby Lashley and Street Profits, they could lose this match. They'll be fine. They'll not lose
It'll suck, but
their
they can
TV
bounce
time.
back. Facts.
Exactly. Cross, if he loses this, it's over.
I
Like
agree.
it's over. He has not done anything of importance since hitting the main roster. It's been loss after loss after loss. And even the matches he did win, like he beat Drew once, then he lost a few. And it's like when it comes time where he needs to win, he loses. So if he loses this match where this group needs to win, especially AOP, they just got back. Like you have this strong tag team division that you want them to be a part of. The Final Testament. I love Bobby and the Street Profits so much, but I feel like they needed more. Final
I
Testament. So
agree.
I'm picked them too.
All right, LA Knight, AJ Styles. This is one where I feel Triple H booked this to make LA Knight a made man and to make it to where, okay, now we put the championship on him because there's no one that it screams made man more than AJ Styles. How do you feel? Which one you picking?
Well, for starters, AJ, like you said, no one that screams made man more. AJ is a guy that I know is selfless. I
Mm-hmm.
know what
He's
he's
about the
gonna do.
business. Facts.
Right. And sure, LA Knight's not a guy where it's like AJ be putting over the younger guy, like the super new guy.
Yeah.
But LA Knight in WWE's world
Is new.
still fairly new,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs wins like this. He missed Mania last year. So many people were up in arms about it, hated it.
Didn't win Money in the
AJ,
Bank. People were pissed.
exactly. He's not contending for the United States Championship. He lost to Roman, which of course he was going to lose to Roman, but still he's lost a lot of the big ones that we hoped he would. And he's not like Cross completely. He's definitely had a far better experience than Cross, but he's a guy that needs the big wins because when it's mattered the most, he's lost. AJ
Facts.
Styles and like
His biggest win to
his
date is
first
Miz, which is like,
that's that's wrong.
yeah.
That's wrong. AJ, he hit WWE in 2016 and he was already a Hall of Famer for the company by like 2018. He's not a guy who needs this win. He's beaten some of the best at WrestleMania.
and
He's
and
had WrestleMania with
honestly,
Undertaker.
it could feud AJ's heel movement more. Like he lost, like, oh no, I gotta be worse. I gotta be vindictive. I gotta like get on
Exactly.
it. Yeah, so I'm
And
with
like
you.
for me, if Cody wins this title, Cody versus AJ is a feud that I want to see.
Ooh, okay. See, I'm gonna ask you about that when we get to the because I got that'll be my
So
final question of
so yeah,
what
I
Cody's
think
first feud should be.
Knight wins though.
I'm with you. All right, United States Championship: Logan Paul, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens. Who you got?
Well, when it comes to LA Knight, I still think he's the guy who should dethrone Logan Paul.
And Logan
Um,
Paul's the fixed picture of SummerSlam, which I think that's where he loses at.
yeah, Randy Orton, he's another guy that I want to see feud with Cody Rhodes. He's a guy that I want to see Cody face at SummerSlam if like The Rock's not available or whatever. So he can't be United States champion if he's contending for
Mm-hmm.
the world title. Kevin Owens, like I said, I want him to beat CM Punk if Punk wins the world title. So because of the what I want for the future, I want Logan to win. But if we're talking just objective, what I think will happen, I still think Logan's gonna win. SummerSlam's gonna revolve around him. It's in his home state. And his reign hasn't even been as flawless as it could have been. He hasn't had a crazy amount of defenses. Like there's a lot more he could do with the United States Championship. I don't think it's over yet, so I'm gonna pick Logan to retain.
I'm with you. All right, Io Sky versus Bailey. Who do you got winning?
Well, this is one that kind of not scares me because I love EO. I want Bailey to win, and for the longest time, I was 100% sure Bailey would win. And then I saw people saying, "Oh, Bailey might lose," and I'm like, hmm, Bailey could lose because of Triple H's whole, like what he did with Cody last year.
Mm-hmm.
He loves to drag it out. Like
But
Bailey
see,
could
I
win.
feel Bailey's put in that work though, bro. Like I feel like more so than Cody, and I feel like Cody low key suffered from the AEW shit, where it's like we couldn't give the former AEW guy the championship right away. Whereas
Yeah.
Triple H knows Bailey grinded. She grinded through the pandemic. She grinded, took all those L's for Bianca. Like she's put the work in. So I still feel like it should be 100% Bailey. But to your point, wrestling is not 100%.
And it's another thing. It's kind of like Rhea versus Becky, where this feud hasn't been perfect. So it's
Yeah.
hard to tell. Like maybe it hasn't been perfect because they want to tell more of it. Maybe they wanted to go on longer. So I'm not completely sure. However, I will pick Bailey because I think that's the better thing to do.
Gotcha. All right. World Heavyweight Champion, second to last match, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre.
I think Drew wins it.
I
But
agree.
the reason why I could be a little bit hesitant, I'm gonna stick to Drew, but because of Clash at the Castle now, what if they want him to win it in
Mm.
Scotland? But I don't know how you stretch Seth versus Drew out
And that's my
until
thing. It's like
Drew.
if y'all gonna say Cody doesn't deserve another match against Roman, who's fought him twice, Drew is this is his what fourth or third time fighting Seth.
Yeah,
So
like
if
if he loses,
yeah, it's like it's done. You can't get no more, brother. Sorry.
yeah, and it goes back to Punk. I'm pretty sure Punk was gonna beat Seth, so I do think they want the world title around Punk eventually. And with the ongoing Punk and Drew thing, for Drew to beat Seth, Punk to beat Drew,
Mm-hmm.
everything just feels perfect. And like you said, Drew, this is his last chance. And I think he deserves the moment. He's been putting on some of the best work of his entire career. He didn't get the Clash at the Castle moment. He didn't get the WrestleMania win in front of fans. So Drew should win, and I think he will.
I'm with you. And then the final match, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns. People who've listened to this pod, Johnathan, know that I am a Cody rider. I was
Oh
in your
yeah.
live last year, and I remember I
Oh
told
yeah.
you they fucked up. Cody should have won, but I'm glad he didn't because it we got to where we are now, and we got to
Right.
see him do hard times. But John, to me, if you don't have Cody win, you have just killed that man's character.
And he said it like whether he was serious or not, because Cody is a hilarious dude. But he said like if he doesn't win, he might as well do commentary, and pretty much
Mm-hmm.
because this is what his past. Not no, not even his past year. This is what his entire WWE career since his return has revolved around. On his promo, first promo back right after WrestleMania, he said with tears in his eyes that he will win that title. He can't do it and put it in the hands of Dusty, but he can definitely sure put it around the waist
His
of the
mom.
American Nightmare and put for his family. Like it's ever since he came back, this has been the end goal for Cody Rhodes to become WWE champion. And this, I think, is the best time to do it. It's not gonna, you're not gonna
It's
get
not
it
getting
any
any
better
better. Yeah,
story. Like
facts.
this is
The
the time.
only way, and this is the only way, Johnathan, is if in this bloodline rules, he's about to win and Triple H comes out. We hear it's about to play the game. And then it's like you find out that Triple H partnered with Rock. They're the board authority. Like if Cody loses, you have to screw him more than you've screwed anyone else. You have to make it to where the fans are like, F Triple H, F The Rock. And that's the
Yeah,
only
but
way,
I
bro.
feel like people will be tired though.
And I'm with you. See, I'm giving you the only way I could see it happening. But to
Yeah,
that point, that doesn't mean that I like that way. That's just the only way I can see feasible of him being able not to win. You know what I'm saying? It can't
right.
just be, oh, Solo, nah, Roman. No, 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 no. It can't even just be Rock Bottom and then Roman. No, no, no. It has to be the company is against him. Like
Yeah,
it has to be so like the company feels that because he went to, I would even say the company feels because you left and started that it's saying company, Triple H would say you don't deserve the belt. Like you're not, we're near Dusty. Like screw him royally. That's the
yeah.
only way. Because if
I
not,
mean,
I'm with you. It's got to be
yeah,
cool.
because if you're gonna continue this story that we all know should not continue,
Mm-hmm.
Roman and Cody, this chapter of the bloodline should end at WrestleMania this Sunday. But if you're gonna continue it, you gotta continue it with another chapter that would make fans care and Triple
Mm-hmm.
H becoming an on-screen character. I know if Triple H was still an active wrestler, this him versus Cody was a match that a lot of people would
Yeah.
have wanted because of what happened with AEW. So Triple H, and then last year when the stuff was going on with Brock Lesnar,
Yeah.
a
Triple
lot
H
of people
came out
they
and
were
was like,
yeah,
yeah.
so people were interested in seeing Triple H involved in the story. So if they were to continue it, that would be the best way possible
But I
to do
think
it.
Roman
But
losing, I think Roman winning does a disservice to Roman because it's like, how much further can I'm looking at it for the bloodline fans who are like, we want the bloodline to continue. Well, if you do, the thing should be that Roman loses and has to fight to get tribal chief back. Like, have it to where his bloodline leaves and Roman goes gets Lance on Hawaii, he has to get his new bloodline, and then you have a real civil war, like where
because
Rock is the tribal chief, and then at 41 he goes back to get it.
Yeah, this version of Roman's, like I said earlier, this version of Roman's bloodline is done. It's done. We've been seeing it since pandemic. When Roman came back, he got Jay, then he got Jimmy, then he got Solo. It's been going on for too long, and people are tired.
Yep.
Solo needs more because
Facts.
he can't be this arms crossed guy standing beside
Forever,
Roman.
yeah.
Like he needs more. We need the Solo that we had
Dude
in
talks less than
NXT,
Hook.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, Solo, when we saw Solo in NXT, we're looking at this guy. We're like, oh, he's gonna do something great in the next
Hmm.
few years. Once he hits the main roster, it's gonna be great. And when he joined Roman, we were hyped.
Yeah.
Like we thought that was gonna be a great thing for him. And he was wrestling guys like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, having
He
these big
went from
one-on-one
like a
matches.
big name enforcer to now he's just an
Just got
accessory.
so
Yeah.
repetitive.
Hmm.
The repetition is what killed them, and he needs more. I think Jimmy, he needs more because he's been at the part of the story since day one. Like it's time for everybody who was in the previous
And
chapters
we know
to
Rock
move
won't
on.
be around, so it's like,
There's
why even
no
do
reason
that to yourself?
to
Yeah.
stretch it when Roman is not active enough. The Rock,
Rock's
he's
not,
got
yeah.
stuff to
Where
attend to
Cody's
because
here
he's got
week in, week out, and you see
exactly.
kids love him. But the thing is not just the
Cody is the
kids.
guy.
It's like he has the John Cena effect of the kids, but the adults love him too, which is like,
Everybody loves Cody.
you haven't had a baby face like this in years. It's like you need this
Seriously.
guy to run the company. It's time. And to that point, I like what you said about Randy Orton. That's my SummerSlam feud prediction as well. But I would also love if Judgment Day leaves, Finn and AJ reconcile. You have Tama Tonga coming, have the Bullet Club go after Cody. The Bullet Club versus Cody and Randy Legacy versus Cody are the two feuds that need to happen post Mania.
I would love that because I always love when the WWE Bullet Club, former Bullet Club members face off, even the guys who weren't in the faction at the same time, like Cody and Finn. Like, that's just super
Mm-hmm.
cool. See all those Bullet Club legacy guys share the ring with each other in WWE, throw up the two sweet. And you got so many guys in WWE now. You got AJ, you got Finn, you got Cody, you got Gallows and Anderson, Thomas coming. Like, there's so many
You
people.
could
There's so
do
much
it.
that you can do. I'd be down for that. I think AJ Cody is a feud that I would definitely prioritize. One, because you didn't do AJ versus Roman one-on-one, which was disappointing for me. And I really would like to see AJ in that main event scene consistently in one-on-one championship feuds for the world title. Because despite, he's had a long legendary career, he's not done yet. I think
I
AJ's
agree.
still great. So I would definitely love to see him have these moments. And I don't think Cody and AJ have ever faced each other.
I don't think so. Not that I know. Not that I
So
know of. Yeah.
that as well is another reason why I would love for that to happen. And yeah, Bullet Club storyline would just be super
Cash
cool.
money. Like
And
those are printing money. It's
The Judgment Day is also like the bloodline in a way.
time to
Like
end.
it's done. We gotta move on. Dominic can't be this
Rhea
criminal
is bigger
forever.
than the Judgment
Rhea's
Day.
bigger than them.
Dominic has his own thing going. Like Damien, well, Damien's the only one that's kind of left in the muck of like, what should I do?
Yeah.
But Finn has JD. Finn could go do Bullet Club. There's multiple things. You could put JD in new Bullet Club. There's things for Finn to do. There's things for Rhea to do. And Dom can team with Andrade. There are things for them to do. But
Yeah.
but it's time to end it. So I'm with you 100%. The final question I got before I get you up out of here: give me your MVP of WrestleMania in the match that you think will be the best.
MVP, I think. It's hard to bet against Gunther because he's the five-star
Yeah.
machine. And just like, sure, Gunther Sammy wasn't the match that I want, but it's Gunther,
Still
it's
gonna
Sami
cook.
Zayn.
Yeah.
Like, that could be the best match of the week, and that could end up being a match of the year candidate. So I'm not going to bet against Gunther. I think Gunther is going to be one of the most talked about wrestlers of this weekend. As for the match that I'm most excited for, a match that I think is going to steal
Yeah, the
the
5-star
weekend.
match, the best match of the weekend.
It also could be Gunther versus Sammy, but I'll pick another match and say I think Seth versus Drew could do it. The
Yeah.
Seth Drew match at Crown Jewel was absolutely phenomenal.
Especially with Ospreay being in the country and Seth saying he's the best wrestler. He talked about Ospreay and the media stuff. He talked about the other best wrestlers. Seth has a point to prove that like he is not number 2 or even 3 behind Cody and Roman. he wants to prove that he's won. So I can see that
hungry
match.
Seth Rollins is
A dangerous
one of
Seth
the
Rollins.
best
Yeah,
wrestlers in the
facts.
world. So yeah, I
Facts.
think Seth and Drew could definitely steal the weekend.
Hell yeah, Johnathan. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I will definitely ask you to come on after WrestleMania so we can talk about all this and get ready for AEW Dynasty. So tell the people where they can follow you at on social media and where they can see your TikToks, your content that you make.
Well, the place that I am mostly is TikTok, Johnny Wrasslin. Johnny, you know how I spell Johnny, the regular Johnny, like Johnny Gargano, and then Wrasslin, Wrasslin, that version of it. So yes, on TikTok, but link tree in my bio. On TikTok, I have a Discord, over 100 people, super cool space. I love those guys and gals. It's an incredible place to be. I'm kind of on Twitter
I was about to
mostly
say, because I'm going to tag you on Twitter if you have one.
mostly so I could push out my agendas, but it's not like as big as the TikTok community. But I am on Twitter. It's the same as my TikTok, just with an underscore afterwards. So yeah, TikTok, a little bit of Twitter. I would definitely recommend the Discord. That's where you can find me mostly. But TikTok, the link tree in the bio, it has everything. TikTok is where I mostly am.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Johnny. I truly appreciate this. And with that being said, I'll finish up the episode with a final little soliloquy and then we'll get up out of here. And I'll toss it to myself now.